Welcome to another edition of Don't Shoot the Messenger podcast. I'm your boy Professional Sutton.
And I'm your boy Chris G.
And on behalf of the Rucker Report, Jersey.
Thirsty.
Chris, what's going on, man? What's going? I gotta leave Ruck picture up here. I know he's probably having some barbecue chicken, hamburgers,
Yeah,
turkey burger.
he partaking of the good fruit.
Yeah,
I know he
yeah.
is.
So you know what I mean. So it's just us today. He left us, man. But hey, listen, man. We ain't tripping.
Left us like Aaron did the Packers.
Yeah. So, again, because we're gonna talk about Aaron, Ruck boy. We also gonna talk about some boxing. That's your expertise, Chris. That's your expertise. So I'm leaving that to you. I'm gonna throw my 2 cents in here, but I'm definitely gonna leave that to you. But before we begin, we gotta send a shout out to 94.3 WYBC.
The rhythm of the city.
Yes, can't let that go without saying that. Also, you can check your boy out every Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, of course, on the Rhythm of the City 94.3 WYBC. And shouts out to Juan. Shouts out to everybody who's definitely always be showing us love. So, I know it's been a while, Chris. A lot going on. But I definitely wanted to talk about Errol Spence. Well, two things that you love, Chris. We got boxing, and also we got some Pac-12, Big Ten talk.
Nah, ain't no more Pac-12.
Listen.
Big Ten. That's all it is.
I know
That's all it is.
For right now, it's still what it is, Chris. So I gotta acknowledge that. You know what I mean? Like it's still unfortunately Pac-12. And I'm gonna definitely get Nick on. Who's your arch nemesis. So I'm sure you guys are excited about that. To talk some Big 12 talk, and all that. But Big 10, I'm sorry, not Big 12. Big 12 is about to be out of there too. I mean, they're about to get Colorado. But anywho, Chris, what's up in the boxing world, man? I know last week on a holiday, July 29th, Errol Spence
That's right.
versus Bud Crawford. And we sitting there watching that fight, and I was amazed because I don't think a lot of people thought it would go like that. I know you had some reservations with the way that the referee called and stopped the fight at the end. I should say not called, but stopped the fight at the end. Just your take on the landscape. What do you think is next? Who should he fight? What does it look like for you? You know what I mean? So hold on, I gotta put something here. I gotta put something down here. All right, there we go. Now we're gonna look official, okay? You know what I mean? Just your expertise. And Ant probably jump in. I sure hope you do. Lead the way, Chris. What's going on in the boxing scene, man?
I mean, look, the boxing scene is good right now. I don't think we've had like this many highly anticipated fights in a single year in a long time. This has been a good year for boxing. Devin Haney, Lomo, Garcia, Tank, Spence, Crawford, just to name a few. We had a lot of big fights this year, and anytime you can have, big fights in boxing is good. I've always said it like this. UFC is the king of fighting right now. But when a big boxing match is on, nothing ever beats it, yo. It could really only be rivaled by the Super Bowl. And I honestly mean that. When there is a legit boxing match that is taking place, it will dominate. And I think that's what the fight did on, this past Saturday. It didn't go the way that I wanted it to go for my personal favorite.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought, all in all, man, they put on a great showing. Terrence Bud Crawford just kind of solidified himself as, the premier boxer of this era. He also, showed that there's levels to greatness. I don't want to take anything away from Errol Spence. Obviously, he's one of my favorite. He is my favorite fighter. But at the same time, there's levels, man.
Rock in the building.
There's levels even in greatness.
Yes, it is.
I think it was Max Kellerman who said one time, he was talking about the Basketball Hall of Fame, and everybody ain't sitting on the same level in the Basketball Hall of Fame. They're all great. Obviously, they're in the Hall of Fame. But everybody ain't sitting at the big boy table. You know what I
Nah.
mean? And I think what Terrence did for himself was just solidify that he's in a different class, at the welterweight division as a, all around great in boxing right now. So, you know, kudos to him. It's tough to see. It's tough to see a guy go down like that. And to see Spence go down like that was tough. But you know, everybody writing him off. It's way too quick to do that. It's just way too quick, man. The guy is 31
Yeah,
years old. He's
definitely
still
early 30s.
relatively young.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of boxing left ahead of him. He's talked slow his whole life.
That's that because that's that Texas twang, man. That's the thing I keep trying to tell people. Listen, I know it sounds like he talks slow. That's how he talked. If you listen to a lot of people in the Dallas area, that's how they talk, man. That's just it. Just is what it is. They, you know what I'm saying? They just slow it down, especially in Houston. So for me, it's not a surprise. But moving forward, Chris, I don't mean to cut you off here, what? Because I'll forget real quick. Who do you think Spence fight should be? What should you do? And Bud, who you think he should fight next?
Well, what I think and what's going to happen, I think are going to be two totally different things. I think that Errol Spence is going to try to get his get back as quick as possible. So
Mm-hmm.
I see a fight as soon as possible. As soon as he medically cleared to go, if it could be December, I think he's going to run it back in December at 154 pounds, and we'll see what happens. At this present time, I would say we're going to get something close to what we seen last Saturday night, but you know, is there a chance it could be something different? Maybe, but I think he's going to run it back as quick as possible. What I think he should do, I think he should take about a year off. Every time you step in the ring, man, even if you win, you lose a piece of you in that ring. And I think that in order for him to beat Crawford,
Mm-hmm.
he's going to have to fundamentally change some of the things that he does as a boxer to even have a legitimate shot. I don't think he's going to do that. So I think he's going to run it back because that's the type of dog he is. As you can see when we were watching the fight, I mean, he got hit a lot, he got knocked down a lot, and he still got up and kept coming forward. That's the only way he know how to fight.
Right.
So I think that's what's going to happen next. After that second fight, after Spence inevitably loses, I think there's a lot of places he could go, but at the same time, the money might be so good he might just call it a wrap after that. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Two big money fights in a row, and you don't got to fight no more. You might not want to fight anymore. But there's a ton of fights for him if you want to continue. I'm not of the belief of Stephen A. Smith where I think he should retire.
No. I don't think he should retire. I mean, come on, he fought a great butt. If it was someone who was, mediocre or, on the cusp,
Right.
then we
Right.
talk about
Then
that.
that'd be a conversation. Ain't no shame in losing the Bud. No matter how you lost to him, no shame in it. So,
And then
but I don't think
people
he should retire.
and then people forget that, he had a fighter and two before he fought Bud.
Well, he hadn't fought in 15 months.
Right, but still though, I mean that's a long time, and that's a long time. But he fought a
It was a
very
long
good.
time. Listen, it was a combination of a lot of things. It was a combination of some ring rust. There was a combination of styles make fight.
Mm-hmm.
It was a combination of Crawford just being the superior boxer. All of those things, added into the dominant performance that we got from Terrence Crawford against him. But again, I wouldn't say that he needs to retire off of that loss. It was a bad loss. You could look up 1,000 boxers who got some bad losses in their career, and they are still great, still Hall of Famers, still all timers.
Yeah,
It doesn't take nothing away.
I mean, because even when I'm watching that fight, I'm like, man, it just shows you how good Bud is. You know what I mean? It shows you how good he was. And like we were talking about, he was just very strategic in his approach. He was very calm. And boxing is one of those sports where, like you always say, Chris, and a lot of people say you can't play boxing. But
No,
once you are down, and if you don't have a lot of composure, it is really tough to try to make a run in boxing. And that, we saw that last week. We saw Bud just taking his time, just picking Earl off. And then you see Earl, who never been in that situation. And like Chris told me, Chris had to remind me, he never been knocked down. Think about that. He never been knocked down before this fight, right, Chris?
never.
That's crazy. So and from amateur to now, what's that, like almost 20 years? This guy never been knocked down, which is
Oh, I can't speak for the amateurs if he
okay.
ever been knocked down or not. But I just know as a
I doubt it.
professional, when it
Right.
mattered, he's never been knocked down. So, it was what it was, and I think that he'll bounce back and he'll put forth a better effort in the next fight.
Mm-hmm.
And it is what it is. But I think if he wants it, there's still a lot of fight for him. Now for Crawford, it's a bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Crawford is chasing. He's on a different path. So what Crawford wants is to be the undisputed 154-pound king. So you could say he was the first fighter ever to be a unified champion in 3 different divisions:
Wow.
140, 147, and 154. So he's chasing a different goal right now.
Okay.
The only fights for him, to me, there's no. I know people say they want to see him fight Boots, but there's no money in Boots for him, and there's no
Mm.
legacy in Boots for him right now. For him, it's honoring your contract, giving Earl his rematch, and then trying to fight Charlo for the remaining belts that he has. And it looks like they're going to give Tim Tszyu one of his belts. So to be unified, he's probably going to have to fight Tim Tszyu too. And I think that's the path that Terrence Crawford is on right now.
Okay. All right. So I do want to talk. I'm trying to fix it here. I do want to talk about another boxing, and again, I know people, talk about him. Jake Paul. Jake Paul, Chris. I want to know. First of all, I didn't see the fight last night. I just want to say I tried to, but I fell asleep. I was done. I was done. Um, did he win last night?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm sure you've seen the highlights. Was it bad or like was it close?
No, I would say he won it pretty convincingly. In typical Diaz brothers form, Nate lost the fight clearly, but the fans still love him because, you know, he did a couple gestures and joked around and, the whole, I just never got the whole Diaz phenomenon, but whatever. Anyway, no, Jake won. I thought Jake could have he looked good at times. He looked inexperienced at others. I mean,
Okay.
Diaz fought him one way. He tried to bull rush him to get close because he couldn't hit him from the outside because he doesn't have the requisite boxing skills to find his way inside. He doesn't turn over his punches. He slaps with him. So, Jake Paul was never hurt. He was never in trouble. Um, he's very slow, lazy with his punches. Nate Diaz. So Jake won it pretty handily. He was never in any danger, and for some reason, even though Jake Paul won the fight, Diaz won the crowd. He didn't do anything. I want to make this very clear. He never hit him with anything significant. The only time he could ever hit him is when they were in a clinch. Um, he's overrated. I'm gonna say it. He's overrated. He was overrated as a MMA fighter. He's definitely overrated as a boxer now. The day he retires will be a great day for combat sports.
Damn you, cold blood. Listen, I'm watching. What I watched. I had watched some highlights. Nate Diaz was bad. It wasn't looking good. It was not looking good.
Had the crowd though.
I mean, again,
Fake like he would fake like he got hurt. Then try to throw up the middle finger, but he couldn't because he had gloves on.
Mm-hmm.
He not fake. He got him in a guillotine choke during one of their sessions where they needed to break. A whole bunch of shit, but he got his ass whooped for
Mm.
10 rounds. So
How much money did he make off this Nate Diaz?
too much.
Do you know?
I don't know the exact number, but whatever he made was too much.
Let me. I want to see how much money Nate Diaz made because I'm wondering, man. Like, is it like, is anyone gonna be able to beat this guy?
Who, Jake Paul?
Yeah. What's up with this, man?
Jake Paul just lost his last fight to Tommy Fury.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, he lost that fight.
Okay, all right, okay. I just wanted to
know. What you want is somebody to knock him out.
Yeah.
That's what you want.
Well, I just didn't know if he lost. I'm like, yo, these people coming up here. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. Let me see here. I'm trying to figure out how much he made. See, Pasha Lion share. Okay, his biggest hot save for the question. But Nate Diaz surely will be looking at what is easily the highest paid in his career, dwarfing the slightly more than $4 million he supposedly earned his rematch with Conor McGregor. Okay, here, let me see. It says between $15 and $20 million. Wow. Okay.
Sound about right.
Wow. So he didn't care if he won or lost. It was just a money grab to him, Chris. Is that?
I wouldn't say it's a money grab. I think he likes fighting. I just think he's not as great as people like to bloviate over him. Like, he's just not that. Like, his claim to fame win, honestly, is beating Conor McGregor. But what people forget is that he, in the first fight, Conor beat him in the second fight. In the first fight, he was a last-minute replacement, and Conor had to go up from 155 to 170 to fight him. And Conor could have easily said no, I'm not doing that, but he did it because he was an entertainer, and that's the win that Diaz got. But I've been seeing Diaz get his ass kicked his whole career.
Yeah, I mean, he. When I look at Diaz, man, I just laugh. Again, he's a fighter, so he knows how to fight. He's a professional, so I'm sure if an average guy try to fight him, it's not happening.
Oh yeah, I mean, if an average guy tries to fight him, it's over.
Yeah, but I'm watching him last night. I'm like, a lot of this is motivated by money. I mean, I understand, like, he likes to fight, but a lot of this is definitely motivated by a whole hell of a lot of money because this is like it was just hard to watch, especially if like a sport, and so you're trying to like you're trying to watch it. I try to get Jake Paul. I can't do Jake Paul. I'm sorry. I know you like boxing, Chris, so you probably watch a lot of his fights. I just laugh. But one thing I am not mad at is the way he spreads that money out, because people are making money. So I mean, anytime you're making money, hey man, power to you. And one of his best friends is one of the guys that's on his show. He's from Milford, so
No. You're thinking about Logan.
Oh, okay, okay, Logan. Okay,
Logan got Mike on the show. Mike is from Milford.
See, I don't know the fuck they are exactly. That's why I just shut my mouth and asked Chris questions.
Yeah, Jake Paul and Mike. I mean, obviously they know each other, but they're not like what him and Logan is.
Okay, Logan is the one that's like both of them are stars.
Logan's the one that was a wrestler. Shout out to Logan. He wrestled at WrestleMania last night. Got done in Detroit. Hopped immediately on a private jet to get to Dallas to watch his brother box. That's love.
But did you hear what he said? You say he hopped on a private jet.
Yeah, what else was he going to get on to get down to Dallas in time? He was all the way in Detroit.
I know, but I know, but that's just funny. He got private jet, man. Listen, one thing I'll say about these guys, they know how to make money. Listen. Shouts out to them. You know what I mean? But Chris puts me on game. Now, I would like to talk about football, college, that is. Chris is a huge Ohio State fan.
That's right.
So being that he's a Ohio State fan, I'm sure he's loving.
Raymond Bennett, what's good, baby?
What's
We
good,
back,
man? Peace to the God, man. Raymond B. Bennett, man. How you doing, man? How
back
you
at Cook
doing?
Crack.
Yes, sir, man. So the Big 12, I mean, sorry, the Pac-12 is just they're basically done for now. And you know, Chris always talks about how his schools are just pristine and they don't go against the grain. But then you look at stuff that the Ten is doing right now. They're swallowing all these schools. But the students is first. You got Duke who's recruiting all these kids. Somehow these kids one and done. Anyway, what's going on over there, Chris, with the Big Ten, man? And how the hell are they getting these Pac-12 schools? Please let us know. And also, Nick should be joining us soon. He's also a Big Ten guy. But I want to know from you, Chris, what are y'all? How much y'all paying these kids? I mean, how much y'all investing? I should say, in these programs to, I don't know. You guys are probably going to exceed the SEC, which is a very clean, might I add, conference, if you will. So, what are y'all doing over there, Chris?
Well, look, the Big Ten is expanding, and we're doing what we always do. We're extending an olive branch and trying to help these other schools out.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, listen, I know SEC. Let me get up closer to the mic here. Let me tell you something. I know everybody thinks of the SEC as the top dog, and blah, 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 blah. Big Ten makes the most money revenue-wise out of all the conferences. By a lot. By a lot. Pac-10 or Pac-12, Pac-0, and Pac-3 is about to be. They have been hemorrhaging money and not bringing in the type of capital that they were promised that they would bring in if they created the Pac-12 network. And then it was going to be like a subscription-based thing, and they were going to make money hand over fist like that. It didn't work out. So if you want to make money, you don't want your chancellors dancing all up in your videos, come to the Big Ten.
Oh, God.
And I think, it's going to add, first of all, the Big Ten and the Pac have always had a long-standing rivalry. We play each other in the Rose Bowl. We're familiar with each other. It's not just football, basketball as well. You want to come where the money is. You want to come where the money is. And football is where the money is. And when it comes to football and making revenue, it starts and stops with the Big Ten. So I think what the Pac was looking at was a long-term goal. You're bringing in your, four of your biggest teams in USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington. I mean, you are it's Oregon State. No, it was Oregon.
Oregon.
You're talking about bringing in staples of your conference. And I think we're just moving closer and closer to the inevitable. Get rid of all of these, NCAA and just make two super conferences.
That's it. Raymond Bennett said, it's not just in football, it's in basketball as well. And you are right. And Chris, I agree with you, right? Make just a super conference. That's it. Because what you don't have is the student athlete. You got athletes, but you don't have the student athletes. Now it's funny how they talk about and just roll with me here. How they keep talking about, you're a student first. When you come, you get a good education, yada yada yada, boom boom boom. But however, you don't get a good education because a lot of times these kids want to leave. And then also what they do, they finagle the freaking conferences. How many times did they do that? I mean, come on. Like, they keep saying that they don't care about these kids. They don't care about these kids whatsoever. They keep saying that they care about these kids, but they don't care about these kids. So I'm just laughing at the fact that they said that they care about these kids and they really don't care. And the only thing that it is just money. You know what I mean? Like, just keep it real. Once I saw Oklahoma leave and Oklahoma was crying, oh, well, why can't we get the money Texas got? Why can't, then I seen Texas A&M leave. I knew it was going to be, a whole different situation. So I'm just laughing at it now. And Chris, even though I'm a Florida guy, it's a lot of stuff down south that we don't agree with. So I kind of laugh when I see a lot of down south people getting the brunt of it. Not gonna lie. But looking at it now, Chris, what do you think that this is going to do to the landscape of the NCAA? I mean, when it comes to basketball, football, and now you got the NIL, that they were pissed about. What is your predictions now on everything?
Well, like I said, I think it just moves us closer to a super conference. I think it moves us closer to getting rid of the NCAA as a whole,
Hope so.
and schools taking control of their own, as their own sanctioning body.
Mm-hmm.
With the emergence of the NIL deals, with the emergence of the transfer portals, and other things that are coming down the pipe, what is the what is the NCAA doing for you other than taking money?
Right. Right.
They've always and instead of adapting with the times a long time ago, they resisted change.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is now going to hurt them going forward. I mean, they could have been in a space where it was mutually beneficial for them, the schools, and the student athletes to make money. But they lived high off the hog. They got fat while everybody starved, and now
Yep.
the bill is due. And I just think it's looking, you know, ever more bleak for the NCAA on a daily basis.
which
Um,
which I
I
love.
think a super conference would be great. I mean, if I would break the teams up into really the only two conferences that really matter, which is the Big Ten and the SEC.
Yep. And then you just have everyone else just like fall in line.
Well, I mean, if you're not a D1 program, we'll get your mid major on. Maybe the NCAA could sanction over the mid majors,
Mm-hmm.
but that'd be about it. They ain't gonna bring in the revenue that they were bringing where they were when they were managing everybody else. But that's the only thing I could see for the mid major teams.
Mm, I agree.
Yeah, it's
Now,
gonna be stacked. Why it's gonna be stacked? What I want scrubs,
no.
in my super conference. I gotta play Ohio State on a Tuesday night in week 3. You know what I mean? Like what
Yeah,
what,
yeah, yeah. I don't want
what
to
I want
play.
these scrubs for?
I don't want to play. Northeast. Community college. I don't have time for that. Speaking
Uh oh.
of speaking of big dogs, knowing what they know, we got our guy up here who's chomping at the bit. Our resident. Yeah, he's a resident. I can't even say resident guest, but our resident up here, my man, the mad scientist Nick Ficarelli. How you doing, Nick?
Doing very well. Thank you for having me on this show. Hello, Chris. How are you, my good friend?
Nick, how's it going? It's good to see you. I haven't talked to you since that Georgia Ohio State game. So glad to see you on the other side of that.
Well, well, the reason why I'm here is because I am actually here to rebut everything that you just said about a quote unquote super conference in college football, let alone all of college sports. Now, we all know it was a very slow last couple of days in college football. There really was no news out there. A couple of minor schools moved here and there. You know, Nothing much going on. Only that a 108-year-old conference has completely cratered to the point of no return, meaning the Pac 12, now known as the Pac 4. Now, what we saw within the span of literally a week is Colorado, Arizona, Arizona State, and Utah moved to the Big 12, and of course, Oregon and Washington moving to the Big 10. leaving behind the remaining teams of Stanford, Cal, Oregon State, Washington State. Now, Chris, I totally get where you're coming from, that the NCAA has been feeding. But the problem here is not the NCAA itself, but I think the lack of awareness that certain commissioners had in the last 10 years. Now, hear me out. The Pac 12 years ago got their television contract, and it was done by Larry Scott. There were 3 times that Larry Scott had a chance to renegotiate his contract to get a bigger slice of the pie. And 3 times Larry Scott said, no, we're good where we are. It then came into Larry Scott's mind, hey, we can do like Pac-12 regional channels here and there. The big boys will pick it up. No, they didn't. And as the Pac-12 got poorer, the rest of the conferences got richer, especially the Big Ten, the SEC, at one time, the ACC.
Yep.
And then, in probably one of the smartest business moves a conference could ever make, the Big 12. Because let's think about this. The Big 12 jumped the line. They knew what was happening after losing Oklahoma and Texas to the SEC. So what did they do? They pretty much poached from the American Athletic Conference. And then they jumped to get a better contract for their schools. And by doing so, they got the last piece of the pie, which left the Pac-12 out in the cold. When Larry Scott got finally removed, thank God, unfortunately, the next commissioner, George Kavillanoff, I can't even pronounce his name, don't let me try, kept trying to see if he can get anything left, a morsel, something. And the only thing that he could come up with is streaming on Apple. Colorado sort of writing on the wall, they jumped. Arizona was like, well, if Colorado's leaving, I'm going to wait to hear what the Pac-12 commissioner has to say. He came, he said, the schools looked at him, blank eyes, and were like, okay, this isn't good. We got a bowl. And they did. Now, I don't think there's going to be a quote-unquote super conference. It'll never work, and we all know everybody has to have their piece of the pie.
I don't know. It might.
But I can tell you who's very, very happy right now, and I want you guys to hear me out. Now, I can't take credit for this. A very good friend of mine, Tony Siracusa from Last Word on Sports, came up with this, wrote an article about it, and it actually has merit. You have the 4 remaining schools of the Pac-12. What's not to say the Mountain West Conference doesn't come in and take them all? And the Mountain West Conference, instead of being a group of 5, all of a sudden becomes a Power 5. Now, hear me out on this. You get Stanford, you get Cal, you get Oregon State, you get Washington State. You already have what you have in your conference alone. The Mountain West all of a sudden becomes that much better as a conference. And they have a little bit more clout to get a slightly better TV deal. Now, I'm not saying they're going to go out and break the bank, but they're going to get a slightly better TV deal than what they have now. It may be regional. Hell, they may get some sort of national contract. Fox may go, you know what, you may not be good for Fox, but we can do something on FS1 and FS2. NBC was like, you know what, we can jump in. We already have Notre Dame. We can come in. We can offer them something. We can put them on Peacock USA. ESPN, I'm sorry, but they have too much on their plate.
Yeah,
there's no way they're going to go after Mountain West, go out and get the Mountain West right now. But there's going to be something out there for them. To try to say to do a super conference is just absolutely insane. There is no way Ohio State is going to want to share something with Alabama. There's no way that Alabama is going to want to share something with Michigan. There's no way that Florida State is going to want to share anything with anybody, especially after what we saw the comments for when they were like, I got to do when the AD said, I got to do what's right with Florida State. Well, how stupid were you 3 years ago when you decided to sign that grant of rights deal, which sets everything in motion until 2036?
Damn.
You already have a legally binding document that pretty much you're tied to. So if you want to leave, hey, fine. Yeah, do you know what the AC is going to do? You're going to leave, fine. This is how much you owe us.
Yeah.
You will be bankrupt by the time you leave this to go to quote unquote greener pastures. Same thing for Clemson. Clemson, they were smart. They didn't say anything. They let Florida State do the talking, and you could see, Clemson's AD right now going, not going to touch this with a 10-foot pole at this point in time. The college football landscape right now is what it is. You do have 4 super conferences right now.
Mm-hmm.
4. What do you call it? I'll tell you what the big issue is going to be now, and I know you're thinking about this too, Chris, because I can see the smoke coming up through your head. And hear me out. The big, what do you call it? The college football playoff right now is the 6 conference champions and the top 6 overall remaining seeds.
Mm-hmm.
There's no Pac-12. So eliminate that. So you're down to 5. Okay. The group of 5, obviously it's going to be the highest rank of the group of 5 or Notre Dame. That don't work for us. So how about we do this? You do the 4 conference champions from the Power 4, because let's face it, it's a Power 4 right now.
Mm-hmm.
You take the 8 remaining top seeds, and then you go from there. Because there's no way you could do 6 and 6 anymore. That's a dead issue. It's done. The Pac-12 is done. They still, what do you call it? There's delusions of grandeur out there from Stanford that says, that they're still a conference. If you saw what the president of Stanford posted and the amount of backlash that she's gotten from that statement, trust me, read it. It's actually a good chuckle because that's basically says that statement was like, we really don't have anything to say, but we're going to put something out just to say it anyway.
Of course. Well, so because I want Chris to answer this. Chris, so Nick saying that the 2 conferences and, having the Diamond Conference is not going to happen. What do you say? Because I can see a lot of these schools. I mean, listen, if we look at the NFL, hey, because, it's not too many teams that they're going to give money to anyway, but do you think that they're moving towards that, or this is it?
Well, the reason his points are, they're valid points. There's a lot of validity in a lot of them, but at the end of the day, when it comes to the money part, I'm looking at it from this perspective, and hear me out. The big schools are always going to be the big schools. Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, they're always going to bring in money regardless. Mm-hmm. So if you turn it into a super conference, 2 teams, the only thing you're doing is just getting extra money from the other conferences that are not as big, because I don't even believe in the ACC anymore.
No.
The ACC without Clemson is a joke. I believe in the SEC and the Big Ten. They are the only 2 conferences that are proven that they're going to give you money and produce money night in, night out on a consistent basis. So my proposal, or I think what it'll start to mold into, is they're just going to eat the other conferences up. And then they're just going to add to the money that they were already getting. So I don't even think they're going to have to split the money between the other people like that. It's just going to be, we're going to add more money to what we were already making. Because the ACC, the Pac-12, the Big 12, all those other little shitty conferences, they're just going to get merged into a super conference with an East and a West. Or what I could see is 2 conferences. Everything getting down to the Big 10 and the SEC. That everybody of merit or everybody of worth being in those 2 conferences.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the outcomes that I can see happening. I wouldn't
It'll
worry
never
about.
happen.
I wouldn't
It will
worry.
never
About,
happen.
I
And
wouldn't
the
worry
only
about.
reason why it won't happen, look, it won't happen. The reason why it won't happen is because there will be so much litigation that will take years to figure out from many, many, many schools. Unfortunately,
What schools?
what we're
What
in
schools
right
gonna
now,
litigate? The only teams
I
that
can
the
tell
only
you
team,
right now, I
the
can
only,
tell
the
you
only
right
teams that's
now,
gonna litigate are the teams that are not allowed to get in and get the money.
exactly. But that's the thing.
Nobody cares
We
about
live
them.
in it. We live in a situation right now where we have, and it's been like this for years, the haves and the have-nots. We've been trying for the have-nots to get a piece of the pie in some way, shape, or form. And that's what happened with the college football playoff when they expanded it to 12 teams. Now, you look at college basketball, you got 68, right now, 68 teams in college basketball from many different conferences. And there's so much parity that, at any given moment, a Cinderella can make the Final Four. And we've seen that, happen. Yes, the Blue Bloods, they always end up at some point in time winning or something like that. But I can pretty much tell you, you will never see that in football because the haves and have-nots, the canyon is so far and so wide that if you decide to do a quote-unquote super conference, you might as well have 60 to 80 football programs just full chop because they're never going to see a piece of the pie.
I mean,
that's why there is a group of 5.
But that's what I'm saying. The piece of the pie.
Yeah.
I would agree. I would agree with your statement, or I would agree with your stance if I believed they were going to stay in the NCAA. I don't believe they're going to stay in there because at this point, for all of the teams and what is the NCAA doing for you other than holding you back?
Exactly.
You're saying for these teams to leave the NCAA, then that would definitely be litigation by the NCAA against these schools, which can be in litigation for years upon years upon years, unless there's some sort of settlement that will bankrupt the schools.
But on what grounds? On what grounds does the NCAA have that they got, a full authority over all college sport? They don't. No. They only the NCAA is there to manage some stuff. But if they choose to manage it themselves, they cannot sign the contract and renew to be with the NCAA, and they can, in that theory, they can just essentially get rid of them. They don't need them. Are you telling me that the Big Ten and the SECs, chairmen are not smart enough to run a mega conference? I think they are.
I don't know. I mean, it's really, you're talking about a very murky area, of schools leaving the NCAA. Now, there is precedent though with what you're talking about. For example, in soccer, we saw teams that wanted to leave their respective leagues, the Premier League, La Liga, trying to think of the other ones.
Also in golf. Remember how golf, now golf is you
right, and what do you call it? They're still in the throes of they were in the throes of litigation, but they came to a settlement. And by next year, don't be surprised if Live Golf is gone bye-bye. They're basically going to be sucked right back into the PGA, and those golfers that left the PGA are going to have no choice but to either go back to the PGA or go away completely. So, what do you call it? You're talking about an area that could possibly cause litigation in the courts. Now, it's going to be something that will be talked about, but until there's a school or a set of schools that actually come out and say, I do not want to be a part of the NCAA anymore, it's never going to happen. Never. Because basically, with everything that's going on right now, with TV contracts with like Adidas, Nike, Reebok, and now NILs, especially NILs. there is so much money out there that the NCAA, which does have licensing rights,
Yeah, they do.
you know, they
Fortunately.
have licensing rights to the schools and stuff. What do you call it? There's gonna what do you call it? It could cause such a monumental shake in the college athletic system that there's going to be no choice but for this to go through the court system unless Congress steps in and finally does something about college athletics which people have been clamoring for years. In which this is what Congress does. Congress does. Hold on.
Yeah, of course. But money talks, man. I no, I agree with you, but I would not be surprised if you see some of these presidents, some of these, big time players at these schools say, "Hey, why can't we do it, by ourselves?" And understanding that they can get a bigger piece of the pie. Because a lot of these guys know the law. A lot of these guys understand it. So, in a few years, Nick, especially when you start seeing these kids get that NIL deal, when you start seeing some of these kids like, yo, I'm not listening to what the NCAA, is saying, or these conversations, like, I'm going to do what I want to do. They're going to find a way to try to recoup some of their funds. And it's going, again, it's going to be a lot of litigation. I agree with you, but some of these people got deep pockets, man. Some of these people got deep pockets to pay that. So it's going to be interesting. It is going to be interesting. I do want to get you one more take because I do want to jump into the NFL real quick because I do want to get some predictions and, go from there. So last take, I'll go with Nick and then I'll go with Chris on the, what we can see and speculate.
Realignment's not done, not by a long shot. I stated that the four remaining Pac 12 schools will probably tuck tail and go to the Mountain West Conference because there's no way that, they can bring in any schools right now, especially, for example, San Diego State. They were mentioned as going to the Pac 12 before the crap hit the fan, and they would have to pay the Mountain West almost 30 some odd million dollars to leave because there was still a grant of rights because they did have a small TV deal. Now, I can tell you that it would not surprise me in the least if other schools, make some sort of shift somewhere along the line. But as far as super conferences go, it's not going to happen in at least, say it's 15 years because we have to wait for the ACC grant of rights contract to expire in 2036.
Okay. Chris, I want to get your final thoughts on this before we move on.
I would say, yeah, I agree with. I would say it's on me if I made it seem that I thought that the super conference was going to happen like next year. I definitely think it's a ways away, but I see it heading that way. I think that the end result of however many years it takes is going to be super conferences or one super conference.
Okay.
Two, I think that the Pac-12 needs to be very, very careful about this Apple TV deal. The subscription-based model that they got sold when they thought they could do it for the Pac-12 was not successful. And I also think that if they align themselves with Apple TV in another subscription-based type of model, that it will not be good for them, and it could ruin them. It could be the end of them. So they need to be very, very careful about the next steps that they take.
Okay. Okay.
Marquette, can I say one more thing about the Apple streaming deal?
Go ahead.
The Apple streaming deal right now is off the table because Apple will not do anything with a conference that only has 4 teams. But I will tell you who's salivating at the mouth about an Apple streaming deal right now, and that's the Mountain West, especially if the Mountain West does pull the trigger and make the invitation to the remaining Pac-12 schools. Apple would then definitely do something with the Mountain West Conference. And if they were to do that, and the Mountain West gets a piece of the pie in a streaming deal, that could be very lucrative for them, not as lucrative as the other, as the power four will get, but as far as like being the top of the group of 5 conferences, Mountain West will become just that with a streaming deal, because they will be the first conference of its kind to have something that deals directly with Apple, which is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a big deal for Apple. I don't know if I think it's a big deal for the Mountain West. I think Apple, when it comes to deals and rights and everything, I think they are far more in advance than the NCAA, the Mountain West, and any conference that would do a deal with Apple TV. I think Apple would they would win the deal. I'll say that. Long story short. So, um, I do think an Apple TV deal would probably be better for the Mountain West and the Pac-12, but we'll see overall.
Okay. Well, fellas, I couldn't wait to talk about this. Let me fix this here. NFL talk again. I'm not going to stay on it all day because I do want to have do like a fuller section, on segment on this, because it's going to be an interesting season. You got Aaron Rodgers, who's with the Jets. I don't know if you understand how the Jets work, but they don't usually win anything. But hey, he's out there. Chris, I just want you just to kind of see, again, just a little tease, because Nick, we're gonna have you back. We're gonna have different people who from different divisions come and talk about their division. What do you see, Chris? Do you see any team that stands out that's going to run away with it, or are we just just going to have to just be patient and just say, hey, well, listen, it is what it is right now.
Is this a general conversation about the NFL? Or are you asking
no,
about
just a general conversation, because I don't want to get too tied in just yet. I don't want to get too tied in just yet, because we got a lot to talk about.
And I'll keep it real. And I'll keep it real simple. Is Patrick Mahomes healthy? I'm going with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay. For right now, he is healthy.
If he's healthy, I'm going with the Kansas City Chiefs. And that's that.
Okay.
And that's pretty much that. Everybody else are really nice.
Okay.
And I'm going wherever Pat Mahomes is, that's who got it.
Nick, you got your Vikings out there. You guys got one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. I mean, he's breaking records left and right. I've seen some of his numbers. He's up there with Jerry. He's up there with Randy Moss. You got your boy Kirk Cousins. He's on Netflix. You got the quarterback series.
Is nobody's boy. I just want to let. I know a lot. I know quite a few Viking fans. Kirk Cousins is nobody's boy. Okay. Listen, nobody goes, my boy Kirk Cousins. Nobody says.
Hey, I'm just.
Nobody says.
I mean, I can see Nick's face. Nick might agree with you. Hey, he's your quarterback. Okay. You got to go there.
Quarterback, not their boy. He's not their boy.
Nick, so you don't like Kirk Cousins? No.
I plead the fifth.
That's my point exactly. Listen, he's their quarterback. They got to deal with him. He can be good sometimes, but listen, they're looking at greener pasture. It's somewhere.
Look, I don't want to speak about Kirk right now. That's for another story for another day.
Okay.
But I will say this about the NFL in general. I slightly disagree with Mr. Gay about Kansas City and everyone else being nice. The AFC this year is going to be a lot tougher than what people are giving credit for.
Don't say because of Aaron Rodgers.
Well, not because of Aaron Rodgers, because the AFC East as a whole is actually a nice division right now. Okay. Because you have Buffalo, Miami, and now the Jets. Forget New England, they're done.
Don't give me Buffalo. No. They're the biggest chokers, scammers in the league.
What do you call it? With regards to the North, it's Cincinnati's to lose, but we don't know how serious the injury is for Burrow right now, how long he's going to be out for. I mean, the West, let's be honest. The West is Kansas City's, but I would not sleep on San Diego as long as the coach doesn't kick them in the ass like he's normally done the last couple of years. Broncos country, let's ride to the grave. And of course, the Raiders being the Raiders, and then the AFC South. I think it's Jacksonville's to lose. To be honest with you, I just see the improvement there. As long as Ryan Tannehill is the quarterback of the Tennessee Titans, there'll be nothing but mid. And the other two teams, well,
let me tell you, wait, Nick,
Mid
out of
is
everything
being nice.
you've ever said on this show, out of everything I've ever heard you say on Facebook, there wasn't a truer statement than as long as Ryan Tannehill is the quarterback that they're going to be mid. I agree with you 1,000%.
Oh,
Thank you.
You know what? You have curried so much favor with me in general, just by there being another competent person in the room to realize that Ryan Tannehill is mid. You made my day.
I think
welcome.
Ryan Tannehill is below mid. I mean, because what has he done? You know what I mean?
Well, you're just saying that now because I curried favor with.
I've been said that. You know what I'm saying? So, shouts out to Anthony Price. He said AFC East might have 3 teams in the playoffs.
No. It's not that he said that Ryan Tannehill was mid, but that the Tennessee Titans would be mid with him because they do have a lot of talent, and then they have Ryan Tannehill as their quarterback, which makes them mid.
Going to the NFC. The NFC East. Oh, they're the beast again. I got to be honest. Philadelphia, Dallas, the Giants, and the Skins. Now that some certain owner is no longer owner, and I'm not going to mention his name because he's like Voldemort in NFL circles these days. That division, great. The South Division is just I can't figure out for the life of me what's going on in the South Division. All 4 teams. I wouldn't be surprised if 8 and 9 wins that division again this year because that's how bad that division is. Then we go to the West and well, it's the West. I mean, gotta love the Seahawks. I mean, the Rams will be better. The Cardinals are going to be crap. And there's some other team that's based out West that I don't know off the top of my head, but
don't do that.
What do you call it?
Don't do that.
I've figured them out. I had to say that. They're the 49ers are the 49ers are the class of the division. The problem again is how is Purdy's elbow?
We're not worried about
Trey Lance Is Trey Lance the biggest bust ever?
Hold on. Stop right there. I don't give about favor now. I don't care about favor. Let me just say this, right? I don't understand how people can say Trey Lance is the biggest bust and he got hurt last year. I don't understand that. I don't understand.
Right now, we are a year later. And the rumblings and grumblings is he still does not know the offense. 1, number 2.
That's a lie. These things that you guys are what you guys are seeing, you guys are going to these mediocre people.
Starting quarterback.
The starting quarterback is Trey Lance. That's it.
I don't think so.
That's what you guys want to believe. I talk to Kyle every other day. Okay, he's letting this media thing get to you guys. It's called entertainment. Trey Lance is the quarterback. The second string quarterback would be Brock Purdy, and the third string would be Sam Darnold. That's it.
Hold on. Anthony Price said exactly what I was about to say.
That's it.
If I had to rank him, Trey Lance is the third string quarterback right now.
But you know what? Everybody said the same thing last year, and then Trey started, and then he unfortunately he got hurt.
No. Last year was different, and you know it. Last year was different, you know it. You still had porn star Jimmy,
who was horrible.
Hey, you wanted him in that Eagles game, didn't you?
I would have.
I
would have took Ryan Tannehill in that Eagles game because we had nobody.
I just got one question. Where's Ruck?
Ruck is actually home. Ruck had an event, so but don't worry, he's listening.
Oh, I thought he was tucking tail because of how bad his Packers are going to be with Jordan Love as their starting quarterback.
Listen, he might hop on for that.
Might hop on for that. I cannot wait until Trey Lance is the starter and Trey Lance does well because you guys are going to have to come up here and talk that talk. I'm just letting you guys say all this.
I can't wait
just to show I'm not a homer.
Jeremiah, what's up, man?
Just to show that I'm not a homer at all. When I go to the North, the team to beat in the NFC North is the Detroit Lions.
He ain't lying.
Yep.
It is not the Chicago. It is not the Minnesota Vikings. It sure as hell is not the Green Bay Packers. And the Bears are the team that I think that scares me the most, just for the sheer fact that I think there was something that was posted out there that Justin Fields is gaining a lot of steam for being an MVP candidate this year. I have to be very honest with you guys.
My God.
I see that. No, I see it. I see
I don't.
I see 4,000 yards passing and 1,000 yards rushing from him. When they traded for DJ Moore to give him a true number one wide receiver, because let's be honest, last year he didn't have a true number one receiver.
That's true.
For the life of him. What do you call it? Now you have DJ Moore. Now you have Cole Kmet. Now you have, two complementary guys in the slot. Chicago can be such a dangerous team.
Darnell Mooney is his name.
Yeah,
he's really a number two. He's not a number one. He's really a number two.
Right, exactly. And
Anthony Price, don't listen to that.
The one thing that's keeping me from saying Chicago in the as a true contender is that defense. Ryan Poles did a magnificent job this offseason, but the defense still has so many holes that you just can't take them serious. You can't take them seriously. As far as my Vikings go, if you look at that schedule, the first half of the schedule is the most brutal start for a team to ever have.
Which you guys need. I think you guys need that.
It's not just that. It's the whole NFC North, yo. They have a brutal. Everybody in NFC North. Mm-hmm. They're just paired up with just bad conferences that are just better than them. So it's gonna be tough, I think, for the NFC North in general.
But I will look. I'm gonna finish it off by saying this: my Vikings will be lucky if they finish 9-8. The best I see is 10-7.
Wow.
And what do you call it? There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean, thank God we have Brian Flores as our defensive coordinator, because when I was on the show last year, how many times I said fire Ed Donatel during the season, even when we went 13-4. 13-4, and still gave up more points than we scored. Think about that for a second.
I would say that this could probably benefit you guys, because I think that the Vikings start out as a top heavy team, and then towards the end and playoff time they just die out. I don't know what it is, but hopefully having a tough first half can translate to the off season and playoffs. So I hope that it works for you guys, man, because I do like seeing Justin Jefferson, man, like that guy he's a monster. The Bills, like Chris said, they are choke artists.
You gotta pay him.
And so I was talking to a Vikings fan, and I said, listen, Justin Jefferson is probably out of here. He said, how? We just paid him. I said, no, you got to pay him more. He's going to want more money, because it's a lot of teams that can pay and use him. Another team who skates under the radar, and they love this guy, Justin Herbert, and those goddamn Chargers. I don't know what it is. They love that team. I don't know why. You know what? Win. Because of the potential. Chris, I know, but this team get more.
Their head coach is a moron.
This team get more passes than a boy.
Their head coach is a moron.
Yeah, listen, for them to lose like that to the Jaguars, I mean, it talks about the Jaguars' perseverance, but it also tells you blatantly how bad they are. That was a red flag. That was a sign right there to show you how bad the Chargers are. But guess what?
They were coached out of that game.
But yes, they were.
It was plain as day. It was plain as day. 2 years ago, when they decided to, lose to the Raiders the last game of the season, when a tie would have sent both teams in, and then last year in the wild card game, being up that much and then choking everything away because the play calling was just so damn bad. Horrible. It wasn't even funny. And all he does is stand on the sidelines like this. Like he goes into brain lock.
Yeah, but
he goes into brain. When it comes to the biggest, Mark, when it comes to the biggest, what do you call it, times that you need to lead your team, the Los Angeles Chargers coaching staff ends up going into a shell and completely abandoning everything that got them there for the first 50 to 55 minutes or even a half.
Yes.
It's been shown time and time and time again. There is no reason at any point that the Chargers should not be at least a contender to make it to the Super Bowl these last couple of years.
And Nick,
their coaching staff is holding them back.
And Nick, what's so sad is that it don't matter if they're in San Diego or LA. It's just these damn Chargers, man.
I know. I keep saying, what do you call it? It's what, 4 years, and I still say San Diego.
I mean, because it's the same damn team. I don't care what you say. It's the same team. Last year proved it. Last year proved it. And can we please get off this Justin Herbert train now, please? I know you guys are, but I'm just spitting it because I'm just talking with my brothers. The way they cap for this guy, and I don't think he's horrible, but my goodness, man, the same way Chris would tell me,
he's a good quarterback. It's just that they've anointed him as a top 5 quarterback.
That's what I'm saying.
When again he hasn't won, and I'm big on that because
that's what matters.
I'm big on it for a lot of reasons. I just know quarterback. I look at a quarterback like I don't know why I'm taking on his name. Baltimore Ravens.
Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson.
And Lamar Jackson has one of the best winning percentages in the league. He's an MVP. Yeah. He got he's got playoff wins, and there's questions about him.
Come on, Chris.
But there's not any questions about
Chris.
Herbert.
Chris, come on, man.
There's not any questions about Josh Allen.
Come on, man.
I know they're good. But they're both.
Guys, I gotta jump.
As accomplished, they're just not.
Look, I gotta jump off, but I'll put a bow on Justin Herbert by saying this: you're watching the continuation of the Phillip Rivers era.
There you go.
Am I wrong?
No. Again, I don't care if they're in San Diego, if they're in LA, if they're in New Mexico. The Chargers are going to be the Chargers. That's that.
All right, boys. Thank you so much for having me on. I will catch you on the next one.
All right, Nick. That is Nick. Thanks for coming on, Nick. Thanks for coming on as always. Let me fix this screen here. Yeah, Chris, I'm just like you said, I think he could be a good quarterback, but until you won, I don't want to hear anything.
I'm just not anointing you the second coming until you get dubs, man.
Yeah.
I'm just saying they did it with Peyton. Yeah, it was Peyton's good, but he hasn't won. But for some reason, they're letting Josh Allen and
Justin Herbert.
They get to bypass that for some reason.
And not to mention, they played. Josh Allen played for Wyoming. You know what I mean? And Lamar Jackson played for Louisville, won a Heisman. Still questions. You know what I mean?
That's all I'm saying, man. That's all I'm saying.
Come on, man. I mean, come on. I mean, they did the same thing with Cam Newton. You know what I mean? So I was just a little upset. I'm just tired of hearing it yet. Let's talk about the teams that are winning. Let's talk about the people that are winning. Jalen Hurt. I mean, again, I'm like, how are you talking about the rumblings here? I mean, look what he brought a team to the Super Bowl. They didn't win, but again,
more than what Josh Allen has done, more than what Justin Herbert has done in less amount of time.
Yeah. So Anthony Price said Chargers are just always injured, and I'll trade Allen now and get what you can before he gets injured again. Why?
Keenan Allen stay injured. There ain't nothing I can say about that, man.
No, he's talking about the whole team because Derwin James, he was hurt. Bosa was hurt.
That's true.
So
but I'm telling you, give it 2 weeks, and Allen gonna be on the injury list. I can tell you that right now.
Damn. Now, so I'm asking you, Anthony Price, and I'm asking you, Chris. with Bosa. Again, Bosa, his production has gone down over the past few years again, mainly because of injury. Do you trade him or do you just say, hey, nah, let's just stay with our guy?
I mean, I would keep him,
Okay.
but you could get a lot if you trade him too.
And so and the reason why I say that because you got a young quarterback, Justin Herbert. You got some pieces that I'm sure that they can use. Do you jump the gun or you say, you know what? Now let's just keep it 10 toes down with our guy, man. You know what I mean? So that was my question. Well, you said keep him, so we're gonna see. But we will be doing a longer segment, Chris. I do want to each week break down each division, at least two divisions. I know we were supposed to do that last year, but we didn't. So we'll be doing that this year. Also, I'll be having different people. Anthony Price says stay, don't trade him. Okay, so we're gonna keep him. We ain't gonna trade him. So we will be doing that, everyone. We will be breaking down these divisions. Chris, I know you don't do fantasy, but can you do me a favor?
Not anymore.
Can we have like a segment on fantasy football?
Oh man, you talking about a past life, a life of a life of complaints.
No, but I'm talking about you helping. You know what I mean? Mainly me. Like, hey, this is who you should get. Stay away from him. Get this defense. Are you on board to doing that?
Look, man, it's been so long since
Oh God, you
since I
still
linked
watch
them up.
football? You still watch football?
Um,
Cut it out.
I mean, yes, I watch football, but I don't watch it for fantasy anymore. So it's just been so long
You're a
since
betting man, so I don't want to hear that.
Now I'm betting on different things now, man. I'm betting on different things now.
That's because it ain't the NFL season yet. Chris,
I've evolved.
Chris,
I've
can you
evolved.
listen? Knowing how smart you are, knowing you probably can wrap this stuff up in like 15 minutes, can we get that fantasy segment, man?
See what I could do, man.
And you don't even have to
See
be
what I can
live. We could just do it like on a regular day, and we could put it up because I think that people need to hear this, man. And someone
do.
says,
To help. Oh, stay away from Jonathan Taylor.
yes,
To help people be good in fantasy.
me, yeah, yep.
I don't
Mainly
contribute
me.
nothing to the fantasy community anymore, man.
Oh, come on, Chris.
Anybody like me who was a diehard fantasy player for years, commissioner of multiple leagues, you know what it does to you, man. Sucks the fun out, man.
So I got a question, man. So I'm starting
And
my
not
own,
in a good way.
so I'm starting my own fantasy league. It's a fun league, nothing crazy. Would you be down to
Don't
join?
do it.
I
Will I be
listen.
down to what?
Would you be down to join?
Oh, absolutely not.
Come on, man. It's
Absolutely not.
Listen. It's just fun, man. Points are crazy.
Yep.
It's free.
Mhm. Yep. I wish I had the drop button. Somebody else to do it. Get somebody else to do it.
Damn. Listen, I ran a
Chris
few.
Jr. will volunteer. Chris Jr. will volunteer in tribute.
Listen, I ran a few leagues myself. So I mean, I not like yours. I mean, yours was on some like $1 million enterprise, but mine's going to be just cool, man. You know what I mean? So that's
I
I'm
hear
trying
it
to
all
keep
the time. I just want to have a nice, cool, relaxed one.
That's how mine is,
Boom.
man. If you want to join my league where you don't got to worry about your commissioners, all in the videos, taking all the money, come over here, man. I got you, man. Got you, man. Keeping it cool, man. Keeping it classy. So, on that note, Chris, anything else that we need to talk about right now? Because football's coming up. We're going to have a lot of stories to talk about. We're going to be getting on the mic more frequently. So I just can't wait to the season. I know everybody talking about Trey Lance. I can't believe how people say he's a bust. Wow. That's crazy. But anyway, anything else, Chris, man, that you want to share in MMA, boxing, anything?
Nah, that's all I got for now.
Okay. All right. Because I know you're one of the hardest working man in the show business, so I appreciate you, man. And also, I want to thank everybody, Mr. Anthony Price. He said do a draft on sleeper apps. It's nice. Okay. I'll try that. I think I got mine on Yahoo. Like I said, I try to keep mine fun. Raymond B. Bennett, my boy, the Ruck Report stopping by, man. And so we're just having fun, man. That's it. Chris is gonna join my fantasy league. He don't even know it. But anyway, man, on that note, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. See you soon. Peace.
Peace.